Hello everyone, welcome to Malim Chess Kids. Today enjoy the gameplay by Javed and Nishit Kumar, and this beautiful game complete in only 22 moves. And let's see how the game play. The game start with the pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, then d4 was played. And here you have the Hungarian defense and the Giuoco Pianissimo. And the game with the black need to capture with the pawn or the knight. If not, then this pawn will be strong to attack the knight. For example, if the black play a pawn to a6, then you can see here the knight can just capture the pawn and will be winning a piece, or the pawn can just push up and attack the knight, and this knight need to move away, and this will be lose tempo for the black. So d5 will be a strong move, and the knight need to move away, and you lost a tempo and lost the control of the center. So therefore, after d4, this force black to capture the pawn, such as using the pawn to take d4. So after this, bishop c4 was played and continue to have the bishop to attack the f7 and allow the king to go for a short castling. After this, d6 was played, and also you have the idea to develop the bishop to go for the exchange. Then knight takes the pawn, knight takes d4, and bishop to e7 was played. And here, this is the first fine move, and the white is slightly better in the position. After this, the white just go for a short castling to bring the king to a safe location. Then the black play knight takes the center knight, knight takes d4. After this, queen continue to capture, and you have the idea to attack the pawn at g7 and attack the rook, then attack the knight. So bishop f6 was played and trying to attack the queen again, and also can attack the pawn at b2 and attack the rook if the bishop move away, such as goes to f4. So queen d5 was played, and here the white trying to mate with the queen takes f7, and it's a very simple checkmate protected by the bishop. So white is better in this position. Example, if you make example moves such as a6, then the queen will just capture and checkmate the king, and the king cannot move to d8 and is being blocked by its own pieces, which is the queen. So if you make another example move such as a knight to h6, then the queen will just capture the knight, and if your pawn capture, then the queen again will take the pawn at f7, and it will be a checkmate. And back to this position, and the king can't move. And if you back to this position after bishop takes the knight, and if you do not want to capture the bishop back, example you move a bishop to e7, then the queen will just continue to play bishop f5 and check the king. And if you play a c6, then the queen will just capture the pawn, and after this, if you capture the bishop again, then the queen will just capture the pawn again, and at this position the white will be winning 2 pawn, and is clearly better at this position. So back to this position, queen d7 was played trying to protect the pawn to prevent the simple checkmate. And here the rook just bring up to rook d1 and continue with the idea to push the pawn and attack, continuous attack. So in the actual game, rook d1 was chosen to play, and now g6 was played, and you can bring the bishop back to this location and bring up the knight to f6. So after this move, knight h3 was played, trying to bring up the knight, and here the bishop just goes to g7. After this, the queen just goes to d3, and you have the idea like going back to here and attack the checkmate at f7 again. So a6 was played, and after this, queen to f3, and you have the idea to attack the f7 pawn and checkmate. After this, c6 was placed, and this is a bad move because you give white the idea to play a sacrifice. And back to this position, another suggestion you can play is to play a knight to h6 to protect the pawn. And then the next will be go for a castling, and then the rook will protect this one, and you have 3 pieces to protect the pawn. So, example, if you move the knight, come up to the center square and attack, then now you can just go for knight g4. And this will just save the white from the further attack. If you play queen to c6, then you're trying to attack the bishop, and the white will just capture, and this will be a checkmate for the king, and the back will be very big trouble, because after king move to here, then the queen will just capture the bishop, and after queen capture, then the queen can just capture the rook. But the best move at this position is to bring more pieces to attack, such as bishop to g5 and continue the check. And after this, the king has a very limited place to move as well. And if you block with the knight, then the bishop will just capture and check, and if the king move up, then the queen to e7 will be a very simple checkmate. So this move, you have a lot of attack for the white to play, therefore you cannot move the queen to c6. And at this position, the best move still move the knight to h6 and protect the pawn. But in the actual game, c6 was played, and now the white has the idea to play a sacrifice with the rook. So this is a brilliant sacrifice after the queen capture. Then you can just continue to check the king and win the bishop and continue to eat all the pieces of the black. So in the actual game, after this move, the rook just capture the pawn in the center and trying to attack the center as much as possible. If the black capture the rook, then the white is clearly winning with the queen takes the f7 pawn and check the king. And now after king to d8, then the queen will just capture the bishop and continue attack, and nothing can block the rook from being saved. If you capture the bishop, and if you try to use f6 and trying to protect the rook, then the bishop will come into the action to go to f5 and pin the queen and be winning the queen. For example, come here, then the queen will not be able to move, and after this move, the bishop will just capture the queen and will winning. And at this position, the white is clearly winning in the game. So this is one of the brilliant sacrifice, and the queen cannot capture the rook. And now you can see that in this game, the white attack in the center and trying to control the game. So after this move, queen e7 was played, and here the bishop to g5 continue to attack and giving up the free bishop, another brilliant sacrifice. So the idea is that the queen want to capture the f7 pawn and checkmate the king. And if you capture the bishop, this is a brilliant sacrifice. You have the queen takes the f7, and it's a complete checkmate. As you see, the king cannot be moved. It's really controlled by the queen and the rook. And if you capture the free rook, and again you have the queen takes f7, and it's a checkmate again. And this time the bishop is controlling the square for the king to move to d8, and again the king can't move. So this is another brilliant sacrifice. So if you move here, if you want to defend, you can just play bishop g4, trying to attack back the queen. And now if the bishop just capture the queen, then the bishop just capture, and after this the bishop just move away to g5, and here the bishop can just move then you can just push the pawn forward, and the white has a decisive advantage at this position. So in the actual game, f6 was played, and now the white start to bring up another rook towards the center of the board, and here the white trying to attack with the center file, which is a d file and the e file together, and you have many ideas by sacrificing the bishop. And if you use the pawn to capture the bishop, the free bishop, then you can just use the rook to sacrifice. And if the queen capture, you have a queen to f7 checkmate again. And again, it's being blocked by the own pieces, and the king cannot move. So after the rook to a to d1, h6 was played, trying to use another pawn to attack. And here in the actual game, bishop f3 was played, and now h5 from the black. Then the white play h3, and here the black continue to develop the knight to h6, and after this bishop just capture the knight off. And after capture the knight, then the rook just capture back the bishop, and after this queen to d3, and now you have 3 pieces at the d file to attack the blacks, and threatening to mate with the rook to d8 and check the king. And at this move, queen to e5 was played, and this is one of the tactical blunder which causes white to mate in 3. I give a couple of seconds to figure out the continuation of white to play and mate in 3. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves that the white play, and this is one of the sacrifice, and the white win the game. In the actual game, the white play rook to d8 and check the king. So after the check, the king move to e7, as f7 is being controlled by the bishop. Then after this, queen to d7, and this is a very brilliant sacrifice. With this sacrifice, again the king has been no way to move, and the only way is to capture the queen. And after capture the queen, the only checkmate is to play rook 1 to capture d7, and it's a complete checkmate. And this you can see the complete checkmate, the king in the center of the board for this king that is uncastled in the early. So the best move and the idea for this is you need to castling in the early example like less than 10 move, you need to castling and bring up the king to a safe place. And if the king is in the center, then you will attack in the center of the file by using these two rook to attack in the d file. So with this, thank you.